You weren't old.
No.
Weirdly, you look the same now as you did then.
Yeah.
You know, fresh faced.
Yeah.
But
Just lost the
but
hope
yeah,
and
it probably
promise.
is.
Hi guys, welcome back to Interval Conversations. I'm so glad to be joined today by my good friend Adam Smith. Now, I've known Adam for years. He has been my vocal coach and also my teacher at some points. So, Adam, how are you doing?
I'm okay, bud. Thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this. It's an honor, should I say?
Oh, don't stop, don't. Adam, obviously you've got a lot of experience within the industry, uh, theatre, teaching, vocal coaching. Could you tell us how you actually got into this industry? So your shows and stuff.
Yeah. So I started off as a little kid. I was 11, and luckily for me, my parents and grandparents had been involved in sort of amateur theatre, youth theatre, and I got to 11. I was quite a shy kid, and I think my mom thought, well, we need to, get him out of his shell a little bit. So I went along to did an audition at a local church hall, and got my first part. Unfortunately, I couldn't play that part because my dad was taking me away on holiday, so I never played my first role. And then a youth group in Hebden Bridge, which is close to where I live, was doing a production of Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I auditioned for just to be in it, and then ended up auditioning and getting the part of the eldest brother, Reuben, which is and it was a bit weird because I was like 11, 12, but all the kids that were the other brothers, because Joseph has a lot, the sort of group of brothers that he lives with, and I was like the youngest one, and everyone else was kind of like 18, 20, and I was like 12, and I kind of had a little solo in that. Really enjoyed it, and sort of felt like I found something that I was good at. I was quite a shy kid, I said just then, so it was almost like I could do something finally. I was all right at something. So, and that's how I began, really. And then since then I've done loads of Amdram growing up, and then I went to drama school. I went to college, sorry. Did my A levels, then went to drama school, and went to a place called Lipper in Liverpool. Had a fantastic time, and then graduated. Worked in all types of the industry: radio, filming, commercial television, corporate theatre, pantomime, variety theatre. I workshopped the first production of Billy Elliot and then toured it around Italy. And then did a couple of children's plays out in Dubai for expats, some new children's plays. And then I kind of wanted to move back home and buy a house. And I had this great time, but I kind of missed home a little bit and wanted to sort of settle down and move back up north. At the time, I lived in London. So I moved back up here, did a little bit of sort of TIE, more sort of regional work. I did a couple more summer seasons, a bit more filming, and kind of, I don't know, lost love of the industry a little bit, and decided that I wanted to teach. And then I did a PGCE and started to teach. Was going to teach in secondary schools, but then sort of found that I preferred teaching in sort of further education colleges and at university. So I got a few jobs working at unis and college, and then a job came up in my local town, my local college, which I got. I did that for 9 years. In that time, I took various shows to the NSDF and Edinburgh Festival. Still always performing, still always acting, and keeping up with that. But really enjoyed directing. I directed over 40 plays and shows, I reckon, over my time at college. I've now I left college and I've gone back, and I'm currently teaching just a couple hours a week there. But I reckon I directed over 40 plays at the college, and then About 5 years ago, I became an after-dinner speaker, and since then I've done the circuit all over the UK and abroad, sort of discussing the history of musical theatre. So I kind of sing and chat my way through the history of the modern musical, which has been absolutely brilliant. I've loved doing that. Still doing lots of bits of filming. I've done a couple of adverts in between, some voiceover work, a bit of radio. And then about, a similar time to when my first daughter was born, I decided I wanted to leave teaching and move in, working in an arts centre. So I got a job at an arts centre as a kind of general manager job, with a view of hoping that would offer some more production work, some more, the art centre was becoming a producing house. It was aspiring to produce its own work, and that really interested me, because I kind of taught, but I wanted to sort of really get back into performance again, and close. So I did that, and then unfortunately in COVID, that job ended. I was made redundant in March at the start of COVID. And since then I've built up. I've always delivered singing lessons. I've been a singing teacher as well as all the other things for about 16 years. So I've done that off and on for years. I've got my own. Luckily, I've got my own studio at home where I do all the lessons from. So I decided I'd wanted to do it for years, but I made sure that the singing lessons became my main source of income, and they are now. Still do the after-dinner speaking, still do filming, still bits, but the singing lessons are my core income. And I do bits of guest lecturing. I've taught other sort of local colleges and unis in the meantime, delivering sort of workshops and what have you. But I really enjoy teaching the singing lessons, and it's a really flexible thing, and I really enjoy it. I teach young people to young kids from 7 upwards. Really, I teach adults, all ages, all the different abilities, some professional, some amateur, and absolutely thoroughly enjoy it. And I suppose that's why I'm here chatting to you.
Yeah, because I think I started singing lessons. How old was I when I originally started? About 12, 13?
Oh, I bet you were 11. Yeah, I bet you were I think you were at high school, weren't you? You were at secondary school, definitely, but you weren't old. No. Weirdly, you look the same now as you did then. Yeah. Fresh faced.
Yeah. Just lost the hope and promise.
Nah, you've still got it.
Well, that singing lesson we had earlier, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was good. It was great. Singing through your half a sixpence stuff. It was brilliant.
Yeah. Still got it.
You've still got it, pal. You've still got it.
So, well, because you've covered quite a lot of the questions there, we'll just nitpick some stuff.
Okay.
Do you have any personal highlights from your variety of work of the years? Because I know you mentioned workshopping Billy Elliot, directing, all those sorts of stuff.
I think I have loads of highlights. I feel I've been really lucky. I think sort of my first highlight was at drama school. So I landed a leading role. Well, landed a few leading roles at drama school, but I played Sky Masterson in a production of Guys and Dolls for one of my final performances at drama school, and I love that show. It's a show that me and my family, because I've been in it as a youth, as a kid. I played a part in that, Nicely Johnson, which I loved. My brother was in it. My granddad also was in that show. So to be in it as a sort of aspiring professional, and to be the leading role in it was absolutely brilliant. And we had a really good cast, and that was a real highlight. And then I did a play. I did a play in Wales that won actually the best play at the National Theatre Awards, the Welsh National Theatre Awards, at the Torch Theatre in Milford Haven. And I'd only just left drama school. It was a really good job. The guy, a friend of mine, Peter Doran, who is still the artistic director there, he saw me in Showcase in Liverpool, and said that he offered me an audition for this role, and I absolutely loved it. And I played this part, and it was my first job. My taste of the profession was in repertory theatre, which I absolutely loved. I then went back there the following Christmas to do a brand new kids children's performance, and I played a penguin. It was brilliant. A fluffy penguin, Gwyn the penguin, a nice Welsh penguin. And we also, the year after that, took that same show to Dubai, and being in Dubai was absolutely mental. It was brilliant. Like I was dressed as a penguin at Christmas time in like absolutely like boiling hot weather. It was mentally hot. It was red hot. I remember like diving off stage, coming off stage, and then like straight away the wardrobe mistress is taking our costumes and like washing them because they absolutely stank because we were so hot. But all the cast would jump into like a private pool outside after the show to cool off. It was brilliant. And that was a highlight. And then also I did a brilliant summer season. There's one of the only now existing peer shows in the country is at Cromer, and it's Matt in North Norfolk, and I did that for 2 years, and that was an absolutely brilliant show. That was absolutely fantastic, and it was sort of steeped in history. Sort of Bradley Walsh had done it a few years before. Shane, what's his name, was just an I'm a Celebrity. Richie had done it loads. Yeah, Richie. And I ended up I was male vocalist, so I had my own set, so I could sort of curate my own songs, and I sang some brilliant, I don't know, I had a great time. It was great. I did quite a few of the sketches in the show. And then I suppose when I left the profession, and started to teach, the highlights were really the student productions. There were, I did some brilliant productions over the years I was teaching, and stuff like 1984 I did with a really good cast. We did a production of Danny Boyle's Frankenstein, which was a brilliant show. And then also I did a production of a new play by Finn Kennedy, which had just come out. It was called East End Tales, which I really loved. That was brilliant. So yeah, those are my highlights. I mean, I loved working at the college. We had a really good team of staff, and we did, some great students. And I suppose whilst I was at the college, and other milestones were I directed 2 youth premieres of Miss Saigon and Phantom of the Opera. Oh, yeah. Of course, Nathan, you were in both of them, and those were absolutely fantastic. I mean, great shows to be part of. Artistically, I'd sort of really was proud of both shows and what the cast achieved. And I think for both of them shows at the time, them casts that we had were probably the strongest casts, junior casts in West Yorkshire. At the time we had kids from all over being in both of those shows, and a lot of those kids were in them. And now, I mean, how many years ago were it? Well, it's probably at least
2014. Phantom was 2014 and Saigon was 2013. So 8 years ago. A lot of them kids are now pro. A lot of those leading roles turned pro. So we had a brilliant cast, and I was really, really proud of them. Those bits, and then I suppose after then I did the after dinner speaking, and I've become now quite a regular after dinner speaker. I do it. Well, pre-COVID, I did it, I had 2 or 3 engagements a month, and was one of the busiest on the circuit. So I've really, really enjoyed them. I get to meet people all over. You're sometimes performing in front of an audience of 1,000. Sometimes it's 50. Sometimes it's 500. But they're just brilliant, and they really look after you well. It's quite funny actually, because usually at Christmas, although obviously they were all cancelled this Christmas, but usually I have around 12 Christmas dinners. Because I do after dinner speaking, you get a free meal with you get the gig. It's part of your contract. So normally I have about sort of 12 to 13 Christmas dinners before I eat my own on Christmas Day. So I'm sure that's a plot to a Vicar of Dibley episode.
It might be. Yes, it is. And but I often say, if anyone wants to know anything about pigs in blankets, I'm your man. I eat tons of the things before I eat my own. But yeah, that's a highlight. And then I'm trying to think. Sort of after then, I've done loads of. I did a recording of a song for a friend, a mate of mine, Lee, who has a production company called North Park Pictures, sorry. And I've done quite a few bits of work for him over the past, done quite a lot of singing and recording for him. And he did this short film, and it's actually been sort of entered for various short film awards this year. So I'm really proud of that. I did it in a couple of hours, just sort of broke down an old folk song, like a sea shanty, and created this kind of slow kind of folk-like recording of it. And I'm really proud of that. And I suppose that's that's it. I suppose they're the milestones of my career so far. Yeah.
Because I remember some of the shows you've directed that I've been in. One that sticks out is Animal Farm, because you had this crazy idea of just covering the entire theatre in straw and putting the audience in
slightly
corners.
illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
we
was
were picking black bogies out for weeks.
Yeah, it was crazy. Well, something that I didn't anticipate was that in the run, the straw under stage light would get drier and drier and drier, and eventually just turn to sort of yellowy black dust. But it was a good production. That I've directed Animal Farm twice, and I really enjoy. I mean, George Orwell, is probably my favorite author. But I found it was interesting because it had a sort of double-edged twist on doing those. Because I've directed 1984 and Animal Farm. And they're highly political plays. And actually, the students didn't realize it at the time. But by doing those productions, I were kind of getting them interested in politics as well. The idea of politics. And that was but yeah, the first production of Animal Farm, you did the second production, which we did slightly different. But the first production, the idea, the idea that I had for both of the plays is because anyone that knows the story of Animal Farm will know this, but the pigs who take over the farm and run the farm and overthrow the farmer, they eventually kind of become the farmer themselves, and it's kind of a self sort of repeating story, because those in power have all good intentions at the start, but eventually, the power gets too much for them and they become greedy. But they both shows, I wanted to have the idea of greed resemble food, because eating too much food, you're greedy. And in the first production I did that with the pigs slowly getting the animals to make a broth and a soup, and eventually the whole concept was that this broth would be shared out amongst the animals. So the animals were working away, peeling potatoes on stage, and carrots and onions, and with the idea of at the end they would eat it, but they don't. And the pigs ate it. And the last scene when Napoleon overthrows the camp, he's eating the soup. Now, I think when we did yours, if I remember rightly, we used sort of physical theatre a lot to resemble the battles didn't we? Yeah. And we used physically, the kind of pigs grew in stature and grew more clothes and they grew more jewelry and that's how we resembled it. And it was such fun. I mean, them shows were just brilliant. Just what fun. I mean, who'd have thought you'd get a qualification, something like that? It was just great. It wasn't work, was it, Nath? It was fun.
Well, learning Squealer's lines near the end of the show, that was work. It's all fun and games.
Absolutely.
Then you get all the statistics, however you pronounce that. Throw those into the mix. I'm like, I'm just going to make them up as long as they sound big.
Yeah. But if you think that's what politicians do, they're always chucking statistics at you, always chucking data at you, because it looks like they're doing something, Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just glad I grew in stature as Squealer, so I could walk around while everyone else had to crawl.
Crawl for the play. I mean, it was pretty awful for him, but the rest of the cast. But it was to resemble the pigs growing, you know, in stature,
Oh.
growing with importance, you know, that was the
Yeah.
idea. So sorry about the rest of the cast that had to, you know,
Yeah.
be on the
Yeah.
hands and knees for 2 hours.
Yeah. I'm not sorry, guys. I got to stand up.
Couldn't care less.
What was the other show we did? The India, was it Grim Tales? I think it was.
Yeah, a selection of work by the Grimm brothers. Yeah, adapted by the time poet laureate Carol Ann Duffy, and they were good because they were sort of short performances. And I tried when we did that performance to sort of let the students almost semi-direct themselves. You remember you built that dragon, and you know, the brilliant dragon that you built, and the idea was to sort of give the students a sort of degree of creativity and give them a chance to shine, you know, and explore what, you know, performance, explore what they could achieve themselves if they, you know, if they just thought about it. That was the idea with that. But that was that's a great show. I've directed that a couple of times, and both casts were great, you know. And again, you can play around with stuff because, you know, there's no scene directions. It's just text. It's just create something, which was just brilliant. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. So, going back to sort of performances and stuff, one thing that goes hand in hand with performances are mishaps. Do you have any mishaps from over the years?
I remember. Let me think. That was that's quite a funny story. So I was in Of Mice and Men. It was the first job from drama school. You know, I'd left Lipper, went down to Milford Haven, and I was so nervous. You know, it was a pro gig, my first proper job. And I went down to Wales, and you know, met up with the cast. We rehearsed. We had this great play. The set was brilliant. It was amazing. Great cast, brilliant director, and we're there. We'd done this run, and I think we opened sort of early October, and I think the run was for 4 weeks. It ran till bonfire night is when I think we closed. I think it was a Saturday, and the director had used in Mice and Men. There's a dog in it, and the dog just walks on and off. It's not, you know, it's got no lines or anything. But the dog. So the run had all gone fine. We'd all had a great time. This last show, and I think it was the matinee. In between the Saturday matinee and the Saturday night, someone had set off fireworks outside the theatre. So the dog had just bolted. So the dog just disappeared. We couldn't find the dog. So, but it's an essential part of the story because the dog's talked about, because the dog gets killed in Mice and Men. It gets put down. So anyway, we were all the actors dressed as cow, because it's set in sort of, you know, it's Steinbeck place. It's set in sort of mid-century America, you know, so we're like dressed as cowboys, walking around this sort of very small Welsh town, looking for this blooming dog that we couldn't find anywhere. Anyway, the director said, look, forget about it. We need, you know, it's the half. We need to get back into the theatre. We need to, you know, get on stage and get sorted. So we all just, anyway, what we did was in the green room, we sort of like rehashed the lines a little bit, and it were like, we all referred to the dog being outside. So no one ever, in the last show of Mice and Men, no one ever met the dog that gets shot. It were like, and then it was kind of like this, where's the dog? Well, that's right. He's outside, and he can't come in because he's not feeling very well. You know, like it's just like randomly awful, but it kind of worked. And then luckily on the Sunday, the dog was found. Luckily, and it was a really funny story because we all just spent the play thinking, but we can't not do it without a dog. So where is the dog? You know, like, so it was just that old phrase, you know, the show must go on and all that. It were really funny, really good. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other mishaps because there'll have been many. I've been on. I mean, I've done all that. You know, that one. I remember doing a gig and my pants falling down. You know, I stood on stage and I thought I'd borrowed a pair of pants off a mate because mine were in the wardrobe washing my pants. So I borrowed these, and they were a dancer and he were a bit slimmer than me. and I put these pants on, and then halfway through my set, they sort of like started to fall down. But what I'd done is, because I was slightly bigger than him, I'd like bent the fly slightly. So I was singing "Bring Him Home" from Les Mis, beautifully dramatic song. And all like literally half the way through the second verse, last chorus was literally like just holding my pants up, just trying not to let the audience. So, you know, and I think that the guy that was on Spotlight had noticed it. So he shrunk the spotlight right down. So he couldn't see me like, you know, frantically grabbing at my pants to hold them up. But yeah, I mean, there's tons more, you know, stuff about student productions that I've directed. When one lad went AWOL, we couldn't find him anywhere, and I got this kid who just turned up to watch it. I give him the script, and it was the production of Clockwork Orange, which I set, and it was in like a compound. I created like this big, like a cube, really, like a giant cube. So the audience were like in this, just outside this, almost like a cage, I suppose, really. So this lad had to walk around with his script in his hand. And halfway through the second act, I hadn't told him, but because I'd forgotten in the stress of it all, that he had this massive monologue, and he was a priest in it, and he did this, and he just literally, this kid, I mean, he was really, I mean, he was a good actor, but he just made it up. He just made up like a 15-minute I mean, it was much longer than, and he just started reciting random bits of Shakespeare and random script that he knew, just to try and keep talking. But all the time I was in the tech box at the back of the theatre doing the lights and the sound, and I was like, come on, like, keep going, just someone else talk, you know, get him to, but he just wouldn't. He just went for it. It was like, you know, did this like soliloquy for 15 minutes. It was bonkers, but really, I mean, looking back, it was hilarious. At the time, it was incredibly stressful, thinking, how the hell are we going to get out of this, folks? Do you know what I mean? I can't help you out here. You're going to have to help me. You know, someone's going to have to butt in. I think eventually he just took a breath, this lad. And then one of the other actors just said a line, you know, to get on. It was bonkers, but it was brilliant.
Is that the same show someone broke the leg on? Was it Clockwork Orange? I know someone broke a leg during a show.
Someone broke the leg on some. They did. I think it was something I did. Were it not Frankenstein when were it Nick that fell? I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. I should do though. I wrote a risk assessment, but I can't remember.
God, who reads risk assessments?
Who reads them?
But,
yeah,
go on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go on.
No, there's lots of stuff like that. Yeah. You know, you working in live performance. It you know, that's how it works. it is, but it's kind of like the fun of it, isn't it, as well at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, especially when you work with Ben Smith. But so going back to vocal coaching, obviously I know how you run the lessons and stuff, but what is your technique for running lessons, and how does it help people?
Well, for what's important for any teacher is to establish a kind of relationship with a student, and establish people come here from all walks of life, and all have different goals. Do you know what I mean? When they come to sing, they come to develop in some way. Now, some people, it's just confidence. You know, I've just taught someone this afternoon who just a biggest thing is she needs to get used to hearing herself sing. That's what she needs to develop first. You know, just becoming at one with a voice. You know, so what I tend to do is I try and work out a kind of how to engage that person, and don't get me wrong, you know, through at the moment, through these sort of unprecedented times, and we're delivering. I'm delivering everything on Zoom at the moment. You know, I spend about 20 hours a week on Zoom, but you have to engage people still, and that's an important part of teaching. It's a bit like direction, a bit like performing, really. But if you can engage someone, and however you do that, find out what they want from the lessons, find out what they need from them. And then something that I've always really preached is you're more likely to develop as a singer if you love the music that you're singing. Now, that seems like a really obvious thing, but traditional singing teaching, that's not the case. You know, like if you're working on syllabuses and you're working towards an exam, is actually you kind of, okay, you're learning maybe musically. And I know, I mean, I went singing lessons as a kid, you know, from being 11 to like 18. And I didn't do much in the way of exam work because I weren't really interested in it. You know, when I went to singing lessons, at the start, I was singing something, 11, 12. I was singing nursery rhymes because that's what grade 1 wanted me to sing, you know, like music grade 1. I just thought that's absolutely dull. And I didn't want to sing that. I wanted to sing Oasis music and, you know, musical theatre ballads and the stuff that I was interested in singing. So I've always said to students, look, I've got thousands of scores here, you know, tons of music. Borrow what you want, sing it. But if I haven't got it, bring it. It costs, you can download music for $2.99, get the song, and we'll do it in lesson. If you know, and that's something that I've always preached, and I've done the same in any teaching that I've done. I've not tried not to impose too much on the student. Is just to say, well, look, let's do something that I know you're going to like, or you give me something. And over my years as a teacher, you know, various students wrote, you know, plays, monologues, you know, and I let them perform them because they're going to take more interest in it if they're doing something that they love. And what I suppose once then you've got that and you've engaged them and you've got them gripped, is then you kind of got to set a long-term goal out of it. You know, what do they want to achieve? What do they need to develop? And people come with all types of things to develop. You know, some people it's projection, some people it's breath control, you know, some people it's engaging diaphragm and intercostal muscles and making sure that they're stood correctly and posture's good. And, you know, but that's it. That the key to teaching, I find, is engagement. Is how can you get someone to listen to you? That's kind of the base of it, the core of it. Yeah.
Because I've always loved the lesson. Like I've been coming, God knows how many years.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Like, time of recording, we had a lesson in the morning, and we were going through like Half a Sixpence and Shrek.
Yeah. Because you love that music, yeah. So you love that music, so you'll invest your time in it outside of sessions to actually work on the stuff that we go through. And that, honestly, Nath, that's the key. And I've taught singing for so long, and I taught punk rockers to sing, you know, people that, you know, in death metal bands that all they've done is sort of sing like this, blah, 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 sing like that, you know. And I've got them singing, you know, Rodgers and Hammerstein, you know, like classical, because actually they quite enjoyed going to the theatre and watching a musical. It was just that they'd always sung in bands and thought that it, you know, it wasn't for them. But if you can unpick, you know, something that people like to do, you know, that's it. I teach a little kid who's actually currently, she's paused because she doesn't really like the Zoom thing. So she just writes her own songs. She's only about 10. She loves it. So what we do is she brings some music, we create a little melody together, and she's like a little rock star. She's brilliant, you know, but that's what she wants, and she'll practice it because she loves the music that she's singing.
Yeah. Really?
It's great.
I just have one last question for you, Adam.
Yeah, cool.
So, what advice do you have for anyone either wanting to get into singing, getting into acting? What advice do you have?
Hang on in there. It's a funny industry for anyone who's aspiring to do it, because I'm not good at anything else. I've tried other things and I can't do them very well. So for me, it was a natural choice. You know, I think that if you're serious about it, you've got to sacrifice. You know, this is that I was saying. You've got to sacrifice for your art. But do you know what? You do. You do. it's very, very unlikely that you're going to leave uni or leave drama school, or even, you know, if you don't go down that route, you're not suddenly going to be successful. And success is a thing that's difficult to measure, because success is in the eye of the beholder. You know, what that I deem that to be is different to what you deem it to be. But if you can stick at it and you can, you know, luckily, you know, you've got support around you that you know might be to help you a little bit financially, or a little bit, and you don't have to just run into a job and just because you need to pay rent. Ultimately, you know, that is a winning formula if you can stick at it. And those that are the most successful that certainly I've worked with or met or learnt with or taught have got that, you know. And don't get me wrong, over the years, lots of the people that I've worked with, taught, and you know, that are my mates, I'd say the majority of them have dropped out of it, you know, because it's really, really hard to not get work, but enough work to sustain your existence, you know, to pay rent. And, you know, there were times when I lived in London when, you know, I was living off beans on toast, you know, like, and that I weren't living in an exclusive part of London. I was living in a flat above a curry shop, you know, Indian takeaway, with an extraction fan blowing into my bedroom, because I thought I wanted to be in London. And I had, you know, I had zero money, you know, I was absolutely broke. But eventually, been there a few months, I got a job, I got a performing job, and very quickly was earning the money. But it is hard, it's difficult. And something that singing lessons have always given me is they've given me a regular income, that's flexible and really, really rewarding. And that's, you know, you any job, if it's going to have longevity and you're going to do it for a long time, you know, any job, you've got to enjoy it. And I think if you don't want to suffer and you don't enjoy it enough, you won't stick it out. So that's what I'd say, is that if you truly want to succeed in it, in this business, is, you know, you're in it for the long haul. And it does mean at times you broke, it's times that you go without, you know, you've got to, but that's the only way of doing it, because it takes time. You know what I mean? Some of the gigs that I do with the speakers agency, I've been there 2 or 3 times but you know, that might be, I don't know, for example, that might be a £500-600 job that I get every year. We can't live all year for 600 quid. You know what I mean? Like, so, but you that job might turn into another job, and then you get booked for another one, and that's how it works, you know, like that's how the industry works, you know, doing Billy Elliot, then getting the Italian tour, and then going to Dubai. They were all mates of mates that got me the work, or casting directors that I'd worked with before, you know. It's kind of how it is. You know, I remember I did an advert for London Underground, and literally it was just me stood in front of a green screen holding a briefcase, dressed in a suit, and I looked like, you know, I'd been a commuter. And then the same director working for another company, Reef Television, was doing a Wrigley's chewing gum advert. So he phoned my agent and was like, right, Adam would be good at this. Let's, you know, it'd be funny and he'd be good at it. So I got that gig, and, you know, that paid brilliant money. But that's how it works. You do one for one, and then there's a bit more, and then a bit here, and that's just how it is. Do you know what I mean? That's the industry, but that takes time. I'm 40 nearly, Nathan, and it's still taking time. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be famous or anything like that. I just want to keep working creatively, and, you know, but that is how it is. That's how it is. And if you want to be a vocal coach, you've got to be able to play piano, and you've got to be able to, you know, you've got to, nowadays when you run your own business, you know, you need a website, you need a marketing strategy. You know, currently I use a lot of sort of Facebook sponsored posts and things like that to push myself. I do a lot of sort of social media marketing. But, you know, these are skills that you kind of acquire, really. No one really teaches you them. You just give it a go. But again, it's about time. It's about reputation. And luckily for me, locally, I've got quite a good reputation. So that's always kept me going with singing lessons. And I'm always nice to people, you know, I'm always pleasant, you know, and just try and network. And it is about that, you know, it's like a freelance work. It's all the same. A builder's the same. A painter and decorator's the same. You know, it's about sort of building up a network of clients, of potential jobs, but it takes time.
Well, that is some absolutely brilliant advice. Thank you for joining me today. Where can people find you?
Oh, no, thanks.
Yeah, where can people find Calderdale Singing Teacher? Where can people find you for Calderdale Singing Teacher?
So it's www.calderdalesingingteacher.co.uk. I've also got a Facebook business page, so you can find me on Facebook if you search Calderdale Singing Teacher. And although I'm pretty full at the moment, I'm always willing to you know, look at accept more students or discuss, you know, when people are flexible or whatever. Yeah, get in touch with me, and that'd be great. Love to hear from you.
Yeah, all the links will be below for you guys. But Adam,
awesome.
Thank you for joining me, and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode.